Runeterra, Daddy.
Very exciting news that they are hiring for those jobs over there, and go check out those jobs. Maybe you may be qualified to go make Runeterra the Runeterra we all want it to be at the end of the day. Maybe you'll even see me and Mitch's name on that bad boy at some point in the future if we can find a way to swindle our ways into that kind of a thing. But until that time, we'll keep doing what we do, and that's bringing you some pretty fun fucking content on Thursday nights now, isn't it, Mitch?
Man, that's a segue if I've ever heard one. That's exactly what we're here to do. Welcome to Theorcrafting. It's the weekly show where Kyle and I discuss events, news, and trends related to the games industry. And for the next hour, we're going to be educating, we're going to be pontificating, we're even going to probably be evaluating just a little bit where our industry is going and why, and kind of, where we see things progressing. And I don't know how we're going to get through the next 3, 6, 9 minutes in this industry because everything's changing so fast. So as always, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for your attention. And before we get started, a quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you for supporting the show, Blue Microphone and Aver Media. We appreciate your continued support. And be sure to go give them some loves on the social medias. Speaking of social media, March. And it means we have a new topic. And it just so happens that our topic this month is social media and you. How do influencers use social media? How to integrate social media into your marketing, into your content, and basically just generally how to use social media. And we're probably going to do a little bit of raging at social media too, because there's some things about it I just really don't like.
As someone with a marketing background, I can only imagine what those things are, and I'm really excited to dive into what some of those gripes you have with the social media world that we live in right now, and where we're headed.
I hate it. But we're planning on talking about a little bit of Papa Elon and some of the things he's been tweeting recently. Talk a little bit about the Twitter box and some of the innovations that they've been pulling out. Maybe look at some influencers in the world that have been using the socials to build their brand and build their content. And I don't know. Well, maybe we'll talk about Runeterra and Valheim again. Who knows? But yes, Kyle, you are correct. I do have a background in social media, and I'd love to start there. Like, let's start. Let's start right there at my background in social media. And for, I don't know, 2 years, I'd say, two and a half years, when I transitioned from being a research scientist into a marketing role, one of my primary responsibilities was social community management. So I've been the guy on the other side of the keyboard managing communities for, like, at one time I managed 7 or 8 separate brands at a single time. So it was many issues with being a social community manager.
What was your favorite? What was your least favorite brand of those that you managed?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think my favorite brand was there's a nonprofit public policy institute that I went through like an educational training course in Denver. And so I was cool to like kind of be the voice of the organization. And this is an organization that is very active in like public policy and kind of shaping the world around you. So it was cool to like live the values that you spent the last year learning about and like implementing it in practice, and also like kind of recruiting others and spreading the message. So that was really cool, like kind of close to my heart kind of vibe. Least favorite, my first agency I worked at, we did a lot of work with law firms and lawyers, and I would just say that managing social media for a lawyer is very dry, especially when they're just chasing ambulances and, gotta do what you gotta do.
You think about the community management roles at many companies, and a lot of people are just like, yay, I'm so happy to help you, but be nice to me, please. But like at an attorney's office, like no one is expected to be nice to you at all from any aspect of the scenario. So like, wow, okay, I see that contrast.
Yeah, and one of the biggest challenges actually with working with lawyers is they have very strong opinions, and they often think that they know everything. And so in the world of social, sometimes you need to be nimble, and you need to like make edgy jokes or like kind of, ride the wave and like, oh, this thing is happening in current events. Like, we've got this tweet, we've got this piece of content, we want to go. And it's like, well, no, I need to approve everything. I'd like to write it. Like, please, like, let's, slow down. It's like, no, man, you hired us. We're the experts. Like, and we have these guidelines. And I know that you want to literally write the copy for all the tweets, but like, you pay us a lot of money to do this for you. So like, let us be the experts, right? So certain people have a hard time like letting go, I think, sometimes.
That definitely sounds like Twitter as a whole. So I can only imagine where your gripes begin.
I just hate Twitter. I mean, I love it. I love Twitter. Easy Tune V says it's my boy Kyle. That's my boy Kyle.
What up?
What up? Yeah, so Twitter in particular has just been really frustrating to me recently, and I don't know if it's just the state of our national discourse and the state of how everything just seems to get hyper polarized, and it's just a constant war zone, and just like, I don't know if it's just I'm just over it, or if it really is something deeper than that. But I've just noticed that every time I've gone on Twitter recently, I just have a hard time like finding value in it. It's just, I don't know. It's not what it used to be for me for whatever reason.
It's oversaturated, I think, is the right way to describe my feeling towards it right now. And even in my own little Twitter bubble of what I would like to be able to consume, I continue to go back to Reddit more and more every day. And I feel like that's just a natural progression away from that noise that Twitter has become. And I even took a break at the end of this last year. It just wasn't something that I could swallow every day, logging in and seeing everything that was going on. Not to say that I wanted to be disconnected from it, but I didn't want to consume what was going on in the world the way that Twitter was serving it up to me, that's for sure. And it was a nice break, to be honest. And I don't know, it feels like it's just so stagnant and stale, and I don't know that there's much that could pull Twitter out of that kind of a nosedive for me personally. It's still the social platform that I use, but I'm kind of disdain to most social platforms in general, other than the ones that connect me right directly to the people that I care about.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest challenges with Twitter in particular is that it's such an important platform in the gaming industry, right? Like, it's a primary networking tool, right? You go to an event, but you got to put the hashtag in your name, right? Because people need to know that you're there, and then it's just like, it's like a really important platform, I think, from that perspective. So it's one that I just feel like I can't get rid of, but it's one that I just have less and less desire every day to log into. And I actually agree with you. Like, I've been spending a lot more time on Reddit as well, because I just, for whatever reason, I just enjoy the content on Reddit better. I hate the discourse in the comment section, although every once in a while you get some gems in there, like the guy that always references the Hell in the Cell match, or the guy that writes dog poems, right? Schnoodle Doodle, shout out to Schnoodle Doodle. If you're listening, please hit the DMs, dog. You're the man, or woman, could be a woman, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I agree. Like, Reddit's really got my attention a lot recently, for similar reasons.
Yeah, and like the world of social media in general, and how it all works, and how it's so algorithm driven right now. I've noticed that even taking a month or a couple months off from Twitter, I don't have the same placement in the algorithm where I was. Like, I fell down the ladder for sure. If I was in StarCraft terms, I would be down there towards the very bottom of that ladder, have to climb my way back up to relevancy again, and it feels like that because my tweets just have less presence. They don't end up in as many people's feeds as often because I fell off of the relevancy for 2 months because I didn't use Twitter myself, but I also didn't generate any content for that period either. And I can feel that punishment of taking that break from the platform, and it's the power of the algorithm is so strong that you really can't take the break, and it becomes that shackle at the end of the day. And I don't know about you, but like the social platforms that I do have, like LinkedIn is one of them, and I definitely don't use LinkedIn as much as I should. I know you will probably use LinkedIn a bit more this last year than the average user normally would, to help yourself find a job. But unless I'm in that situation to find a job, I'm normally not really doing too much with my LinkedIn unless it's like the occasional just like update of something big at my career. So trying to maintain multiple social profiles is already difficult in itself. So it's amazing to see that you can balance that out with a different presence on each even, but I don't feel like splitting myself up that many different ways. So I don't know if I see like the full appeal of needing these different platforms, and even needing one at the end of the day seems kind of funny when you really boil it back.
Yeah, it's for me. Uh, but how do I use my influence to make kids eat kale, Lamau? I don't know. I don't have kids, so maybe someday I'll have an answer for that one. For me, because of my background in marketing and from the agency perspective, I've always like viewed each social platform as needing some sort of like anchoring use case, right? So for me, it's like Twitter has always been the what's going on in the world right now, what's my hot take that nobody actually cares about, and like how do I network with people in the games industry, right? LinkedIn is like the professional channel. Facebook is like family and friends from high school and a bunch of people that like I really literally don't care about, but like whatever, like I just can't bring myself to delete my Facebook. But as far as like trying to maintain a presence on all these things, like man, I already have a job. Like it's almost a full-time job for me to like produce content on all these places, and I've just found it's easier to just not care because like at the end of the day, like what really matters to me is like, can I pick up the phone and call you or text you, or like can I like see you at an event and have that real connection with you? I don't think that the LinkedIn post that I posted like 8 months ago, like about oh, I lost my job, like I think that serves a purpose, right? It's like, oh, I'm looking for a job, I'm in the market, but I just can't bring myself to post to LinkedIn 3 times a week just to get my like engagement up. Like I'm not a sales guy, like I'm just a dude that like does cool shit. Like, I don't know.
And that's, I think, what it really boils back to at the end of the day is the shit that you do is something that people care about, and your social will kind of run itself, and the content that you produce around the cool shit that you do will generate the kind of activity that I believe most people would be genuinely looking for, instead of just having it be the hype machine that is artificially generated to like, please, I need every follower that I can get to try and expose you to the things that I need to expose you to. And it feels like it's almost lost sincerity is probably the best way to say that. And I feel like they're like grasping at it right now to try and say like, come on, Twitter can be sincere too. We can be your only fan as well.
Like, I think OnlyFans is a really interesting platform, actually, and I would definitely classify OnlyFans as, I mean, I think it's a social network, right? Like, in the very most broad sense of the word, right? It's a place where you can go and connect with people, and now, granted, we all know what a lot of people are using it for, which more power to you.
Hey.
I approve.
Hey,
but
porn leads the way for most things in industry, so
yeah, I mean, I'm a live and let free, stay out of my business kind of guy. So like I'm all for it. But I guess would you agree that like OnlyFans is a social network in like your definition?
Yeah. I mean, if Twitter's afraid of them to the point where they need to implement some of their features, then I believe they're a full social network. I think that gives them the check mark no matter which way you look at it.
It's the only place that people give money for pictures of wood. I mean, they also give money for pictures of beavers and other things too. Like it's kind of crazy. So
Happy, I think they would proudly give you money for pictures of your wood, and I know it sits behind Torben during all of his broadcasts for this network. So it would be just wonderful if you could NFT those things for your OnlyFans account and turn them into some virtual wood.
I'm uncomfortable with this conversation now. Yeah. Okay. So sidebar that we're no more wood NFT jokes, please. That's funny. But so in addition to it, so what I find to be really fascinating about the state of social networks is that you have like the established players, right? You've got your Facebooks, your Twitters, your YouTubes, kind of the big three, if you will, and then you have things like what's the one that got taken offline because of the Parler? You have like these Parlers, like a Gab, or like these kind of like free speech alternatives, which are like trying to gain market share from the giants, right? And what you have is really like a bunch of companies that have all of the attention and all the users, and they have that inertia, right? And now they're starting to like sort of exert their dominance, and I'm really curious to see like if a video social network competitor can pop up and compete against YouTube, or like if an alternative short blogging platform like a Parler can actually compete and survive against a Twitter, or like are their monopolies too big and too strong already to really even chip away at it? I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, there's the big established players that are always trying to fend off the up and coming as well, because I think Clubhouse is a really good example of putting a little bit of pressure on some of the other big dogs out there right now in innovating and engaging people in a time where they need it and in a way that they want it. And they can leverage that power into something cool. What it may be, I don't know. It's kind of like the fundamentals of Facebook. It started out with just you pretty much connecting your yearbook friends. So what that turns into, what the platform evolves into, I don't know. But it's also one of those things that I feel like Twitter is afraid of. And a lot of platforms are trying to develop a counter to that right now to say like, oh, look, you don't need Clubhouse. You just need us, your one-stop shop for social. Because most people only have real engagement on one social platform, whether it be an Instagram, a Facebook, or a Twitter. We tend to lean towards one primarily versus the others. So I think your breakdown of the Facebook family one and the friends and like how you described that, it really does define each social platform very well. And that it is that tool. When I need that kind of a thing, I go grab that tool. If I'm looking for some really cool pictures, I'm probably going to Instagram or Reddit. I'm not going to Twitter or Facebook at the beginning to go search for pictures. Like I know exactly what I'm looking for. So that I think defines each one so independently of another that when these new innovative tools come in line, it's hard for them to even scrap at these big dogs because they have those established points. But that, again, Clubhouse has that user base and that virality to it that can build into something that is much bigger on its own and almost independent of the rest of the noise is kind of the feature set of Clubhouse. It doesn't come with all the other bullshit that you get on the other platforms. And you are focused down into one thing again that's actually infinite is what they've sold right now. It's everything, but it's one thing. So you're not burdened. I think that's innovation at its finest here.
Yeah, and it's reminds me of kind of like how a lot of these networks sort of start is they start as a place to do like one particular thing, and then as they grow they start doing other things and adapting, right? So like, you know, you had Snapchat with like the idea of Snapchat stories, and next thing you know, like Facebook's copying them, and then, you know, Instagram's rolling it out too. So even I think Twitter. It's like really that, yeah, and even Twitter now, right? So it's like a copycat world. But I think that is, you're right, like Clubhouse is so unique because like it does this one really specific thing that hasn't really been done in the way it's been done. And I can almost guarantee you 2 years from now or whatever, you're going to have some sort of like retweet liking functionality. You'll probably have some sort of story functionality. You'll probably have some sort of like, I don't know, pick any other thing you can do anywhere else, and there'll probably be some like iteration of it, which I think is, I don't know, it's good and bad. But I think that's what makes Clubhouse really interesting is that like it's, and we've talked about this before, right? We're both really excited about the platform. It's just a new, unique take on something, and it's still fresh. And I think it's really disruptive. And people are, they're very clearly taking notice. Like the other players are taking notice of like, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. You know, maybe the numbers are even down too on like a Twitter or Facebook. Like, I don't know. I'd love to see those analytics.
Especially during a time when you think they would be through the roof. Are they noticing a decline just off of the COVID spike and trying to hedge the bets there? Like, that's what I wonder about what Twitter has had brewing in the background for a long time is what do these new features really mean? Is this like their full push into monetization? Because they've had, you know, monetization from like a B2B perspective, but never like a real B2C monetization strategy, if I'm not mistaken. So this may be their first push into those B2C monetization strategies, and all that says to me is, oh no, we don't get enough from marketing anymore to feed the beast, so we've got to keep pushing in other ways. So it just screams platform decline. We need to monetize each user even further.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. Like they obviously have an advertising market, right? And digital ads kind of run the internet, and you know, you are the product. And if you didn't know that, well, newsflash, you're the product. That's why all these platforms let you on there for free. But you are seeing this big push away from like device-based ad targeting, and you are seeing this focus around privacy. So I'm actually like, you know, you see Twitter launch this feature. I think they call it's like a super follow, right? It's like basically a subscription, right? It's basically like subscribing to somebody on Twitter for $5 a month or $10 a month. So I'm like, Kyle, would you ever subscribe to anybody on Twitter? Like, I'm curious. Like, would you? I don't know.
Like I don't have any desire to Patreon. Okay, that's not totally true. I have 2 YouTube channels that I need to Patreon because I really just support their content. I feel like I should just donate money to them because I consume so much, but I don't have any desire to do anything like that. Most of the people that I subscribe to on Twitch, it's just out of like pure, I like your content. I don't need anything more from you. Just keep doing what you do. And this is my way of saying thank you for what you do. And Twitter has never checked that box for me. There's no one on Twitter. Maybe this new Shrek account though. I'm watching this Shrek frame by frame on Twitter unfold. There's 120,000 frames in the movie of Shrek, and they're on frame like 4,000. And they had a banger.
Every Shrek frame in order?
Yeah, every Shrek frame in order. And they had this banger of a tweet the other day, and it was the like 3,000 something tweet that they did in 3,000th frame, but it was Shrek's butt. And that's their pinned tweet right now. But like, maybe I would pay for that kind of content if I was really invested in this process, because I was wondering the other day, like, what's the next frame that everyone's gonna be like, oh, there it is, yeah, boom, that was the one, I was waiting for it.
I just followed at Shrek Frame on Twitter, by the way. So there you go. Number 23,800 or something for me.
Oh man, they're up to 23. They were at 9.
Yeah, good lookout, right? This is kind of like the other day when we were playing Valheim, and my boy Kyle over here goes, bro, you'll never guess what Nadeshot just tweeted. And basically I went straight in there to retweet it. Do you want to tell the story about what Nadeshot
oh
tweeted? Because,
man,
really interesting example of like
this is
how to
perfect.
parlay the hype into like even more hype.
Yeah, so let me make sure that I'm getting the names right here. So there was a member of 100 Thieves that was heckling Nadeshot because he was kicking his ass up and down the fucking street at one of the games that they're playing. I think it was Halo? No, maybe not. Oh, yep. Thank you. So it was Frosty.
They're playing, but it was Frosty.
And it was Nadeshot, and they were ultimately bantering back and forth, and they ended up betting on this retweet challenge of like where Nadeshot said video games, sex is temporary, video games are forever, and that was how many retweets to get this tattooed, and he said 100K, and like decimated, unless like the entire industry retweeted this motherfucking thing because they want Nadeshot to have this on his body, and he would throw out the challenge of 1 million in a day, and that it would be anywhere, and I think they hit like 250K, which is still, that's impressive energy for the gaming industry. So like Frosty and Nadeshot, 2 influencers from the same organization, heckling each other with a pretty, what I would imagine, a genuine interaction. I imagine this is just 2 dudes DMing each other kind of thing, and it happens to be on Twitter. I don't think this was like staged kind of incident at all. But I say something to Mitch, and boom, he's out there retweeting it. And it just so happened to be that I saw these things when I saw them, and like Tim the Tap Man was retweeting it, Ninja was retweeting it, millions of followers all congregated to this. I would love to see the data behind this exposure that they got from this whole thing, but all around the idea of sex is temporary, video games forever being tattooed on his body was enough to motivate this energy.
It's a really cool, like, it's one of those examples of like, to think back to what I was just talking about with the lawyers, right? Like a law firm would never be able to engage with this because it's so spontaneous and it's so culturally relevant and native to the platform, which is why it works, right? And it's also just Nadeshot and Frosty entering and talking shit. Like, I totally agree that if you tried to stage this, I don't think it works.
How long until Logan Paul tries?
I'm sure he's already tried, right? I don't know. Maybe he should have rethought staging his content when he went into that forest that one time in Japan, right? That was him, right?
Yep.
Bad
taste.
Yeah, bad taste. But good work on those NFTs the other week. That was good stuff.
Man, I cannot believe that. Just
know, right?
Crazy town. How valuable those are. I can't wait until gaming really like embraces the NFT wave like this, and we start seeing these esports orgs raise millions of dollars off of these NFTs. Can you imagine the 100 Thieves limited run that they would do and the fans they have behind that base? Whew.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. I actually I was looking at Nifty Gateway the other day, just kind of perusing, and I actually saw some Dota 2 Championship 2018 things from OG Esports, actually. And I
Interesting.
wasn't sure if it was like a fan collection or if it was actually OG Esports or exactly what was going on, but I was really surprised to see that in there in particular. Didn't look like there was much action on it, so I didn't dig too closely into it. But yeah, I don't have tons of ether. I don't really want to spend my ether on 100T NFT, but dang, that's a good that's a good acronym.
Let's just say you could go back in time to like 1970-ish, maybe even a little bit further back, and you could have the original Green Bay Packers sign from the stadium. How much do you spend on that bad boy, knowing what it could be worth now to the Green Bay Packers superfan? That's kind of like the only way they can equate this for like the sports world memorabilia wise, because we're talking about these franchises that are like, they're off the ground and they're popular now, but like, what's 100 Thieves going to be in 10 years?
All of it. That's the answer. I would spend all of it, right?
All the ether is what you're saying. You need to spend all your Ethereum on.
I guess the answer is as much as it takes.
Exactly. I feel like that is exactly where you are. And what is that going to be like for these franchises that, you know, you can go out and fundraise and get a couple $1 million, but they've built these followings now. And what would their NFTs for some of these initial offerings of a Liquid or 100 Thieves or an Optic, or like, there is some value behind these names, and there are some crypto moon boys out there and moon ladies out there that are definitely looking to spend some coin in a lot of different ways, and NFTs are a great way to diversify the portfolio. And maybe Liquid goes under in 2 years, maybe they become one of the most valuable sports franchises in all history. I don't know, but if you've got one of their original NFTs, that could be worth a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see what comes out of the esports space with NFTs in particular. I don't know anything about anybody looking into making any. I assume they are orgs evaluating it, and if they're not, they're dumb and they should be. But like, I mean, how could you not see the inherent value of this, especially like with esports and how like culturally, internetually, and technologically driven this whole thing is.
Well, and this kind of draws us back to one of the things that we were going to talk about before. So, like, do you think about the power of influence behind these NFTs and what really drives the value there? So, these teams are valuable. These franchises are valuable. They have a lot of community clout, and there's hyper fans behind them. And the money is there to support it, too. It is really like the perfect storm. But the man that sold not a flamethrowers, way before any of this was really popular, the meme lord himself, Elon Musk, he could fund the trip to Mars off of NFTs is what it feels like right now. I don't feel like that's too far-fetched of a statement.
Yeah, I mean, he almost single-handedly pumped Dogecoin up like 3 cents, one of the worst possible cryptocurrencies in the entire market, piece of crap coin. So good for him. Yeah, I hate Dogecoin, by the way. Come on, haters. I'm not buying your stupid meme coin. But I think that like Elon, what I love about Elon in his Twitter feed is that he realizes that his words have influence and his words have power, right? And so I think he actually understands this. Like when he tweets things, he probably thinks to himself like, oh, they're gonna go crazy over this, right? Just imagine what that feels like, knowing that you have this reach, this celebrity, this like level of influence. And it's like, with great power comes great responsibility is kind of what I kind of keep coming back to. It's like, how I don't know how I would handle that, but it's pretty it's not unremarkable. It's remarkable, the fact that like one man can literally change the world just by tweeting something about Dogecoin.
It really is. I mean, not to mention that he also launched a rocket via his company yesterday that flew up to 10,000 feet and fell like a whale flopping out of the sky, and then landed on the ground after performing an acrobatic maneuver. Like, this isn't just some meme master like a Logan Paul. This is an actual, like, legitimate modern day genius. is the right way to paraphrase. This is like a modern day Einstein. Like I wonder back to what would Einstein have tweeted if he had a Twitter account, and like what kind of funny things roll around in his head. But like we get to see what comes out of Elon's head pretty frequently, and it is incredible that the influence that he has can be directed for Dogecoin or the adoption of a car type. An entire electric vehicle revolution that we're in the middle of has pretty much been built off of his social media back and a good product. So it is that half of the equation, because that like marketing piece, he is like that whole social push, it feels like, for a majority of the projects that he's working on nowadays. Not to discount the work that is done behind the scenes to like make the product what it is, but there is so much on his shoulders to drive some of these things forward just with the clout that he has through a device like Twitter. Is actually kind of crazy to think of. Even though he can transfer that, he's one of the people that can just transfer the value wherever he ends up at, because there's always going to be Elon Musk fans in whatever platform that you are out there on. But to think that, you know, Nifty's for him could just be $1 billion thing that just comes up out of nowhere if he were to throw it out there. Impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, and it really speaks to like the idea of like if you're a creator or somebody who aspires to be a creator or an influencer or an athlete or a musician or an actor, insert whatever you want to do in the public eye, like here, the importance of like finding your tribe, finding your audience, capturing them, and then making sure that like they're not all in just one place, right? Because like this idea of like, imagine if Twitter disappeared tomorrow, right? Like, could you email your 1,000 super fans? Like, what happens if you got kicked off Twitch tomorrow? Like, could you recover? So this idea of like, it's great you have a huge following on this one place, but like, what happens if that goes away? Are you diversifying? Are you hedging against that? And you should be, because if you're not, I think you're making a strategic mistake. This is like one of the reasons like why I still really believe in email lists and capturing emails and like getting people off the Twitter feed and into your inbox kind of deal as like another distribution mechanism and communication mechanism. And I'm sure Elon's got huge followings on other channels and all that. So I think if you kicked him off Twitter, well, he's Elon, right? He could literally go to any platform with 0 followers and say, hey, follow me here. And he'd be up to like half a mil like in 2 days. So
Yep. Yep. It kind of feels like Doc moving around between platforms or Ninja moving around between platforms. They have that core base behind them that'll just follow them wherever they go because they're the loyals. They're the disciples of the following. I mean, I say that word out loud right now. And like, how different are influencers than Jesus?
Well, you know, Jesus was one of the first influencers, I guess.
Yeah, man, like the Einstein thing, like, man, Jesus with a Twitter. Huh. I wonder if it would be great to have that record for like just clarity's sake, but you know, I digress.
I wish I had 3 minutes before the show to think about Jesus tweeting, so I could have had something really clever to say right there, but I unfortunately didn't.
I had no idea I was taking us toward Jesus tweeting, so you know, the derailed train that is Kyle just plows on through again. But
so
it's just silly.
That's funny. One other social network I did want to actually talk about, which I was thinking about. We were talking about all the normal players, but I think there's one that's really important in gaming that people don't think of as a social network, and that is Discord, in my opinion. Discord, to me, is potentially my most important social network because it's the place I go to talk to my friends and play games with my friends and to be in the servers that really matter to me and the communities that matter to me. So it's like it's a hyper-focused, hyper-targeted network of people that I care about. I don't always know all of them, right? But I think that when I think about games and I think about Discord, it's like such a natural part of our culture and our ecosystem that I think sometimes we forget about Discord, actually. I think we just kind of take it for granted. It's like,
I think it's by design almost. And if it's not, then bravo for them designing a product that is so subtle, because I would have never described Discord as a social network until pretty recently. But it absolutely is. It's my most intimate social network, and it can be as expansive as you want it to be. If you're an influencer that has hundreds of thousands, awesome. If you're someone that has 5 buddies that you want to play Valheim with, sweet. It has something for each of you, but it just tailors your social network and, you know, also can can pile into an echo chamber pretty quickly if you allow it to, but that's where proper moderation as you grow and all those things come into play. But it allows for that social network to be or that web to be as big as you would like it to really be. And I applaud them for creating a platform that is so subtly social that even the most antisocial utilize it, because there's not many gamers that I know from back in the day that would go up and say hello to someone, but you get them in a Discord and they will be the chattiest of the chatty because they're comfortable there. And they built this thing around being comfortable versus being in a larger room where everybody can hear you. It's a much more intimate, private style social network, but can still be expansive, and that's the craziest part about it.
I'm thinking right now about like the archetypes of the different types of people that you meet on Discord, right? You've got the guy that just will not shut up. Like every 3 seconds, they have to say something, right? Because they're like kind of insecure and like they just are like really worried that if it's quiet, like I got like, oh my god, they got to talk about I'm gonna go over this tree. Oh my god, check this thing out, right? And then you have like the snarky person that's always making your mom jokes, and then you have like you have the guy that's like always chewing food or whatever, right? So it's just funny because like there's like all these like archetypes of people, and oftentimes what I find is that the Discord personality doesn't always match the sort of like in-person personality, right? There's like this online versus offline sort of thing. And I think it's just at the end of the day, like most of us gamers are kind of introverted and kind of got that whole vibe going on, right? So it's like Discord is this place where it's like it's easy to sort of like come out of that shell because it is anonymous to some degree. You are in front of the screen, and it's a little bit easier to sort of, I don't know, let loose as opposed to like going to the party at PAX and now I gotta walk into the bar and talk to people. Like that's a lot more intimidating, right?
Yeah, for sure. That experience is much more welcoming to begin with, and can turn into even totally different personas for people. I often think of Dr. Disrespect and the magic that he creates of this persona that is not him, but this other influencer that is the guy that he becomes whenever he sits down behind the camera. And there's a lot of power that he wields as the man with the mustache and the black and red. It's an icon now in our industry, and it builds off of that idea of anonymity to a certain extent and being the person that you may want to be whenever you do sit down and play that game, because games allow you to become whoever you really want to be. And I love that we've expanded on that to the anonymity of it to a certain degree, but just being able to just embody everything that you always wanted to in every which way, and carry that through even to different games, into different worlds as you maintain this social presence around people that make you comfortable.
This is the second time you brought up the doc, and every time I think to myself, God, I want to know what happened. Like what happened, dude? Like what happened, right? And I've asked so many people that I know, people that work at Twitch pretty high up. They're like, I don't know, dude. Like it's like super tight-lipped, right? So, but what I love about the doc is you've seen him like in the real world, right? Like at an event, you've seen him walk into the room.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
met Doc's mom.
Oh yeah, you did. It's like Michael Jordan walks into the room, right? Or like LeBron James. You look over, it's like, oh, there's a doc, and then boom, there's 150 people just around him. And the thing is, the doc is like 18 feet tall, and he's big. He's a big dude, right? So he stands out. And so you got this huge dude surrounded by this sea of nerds, and everybody just loves the doc. And it's like his persona and his brand is so strong.
It's pretty crazy. How? Oh boy, technical difficulties.
A little bit of internet issues right now, it seems like.
Yep, it looks like it. Bear with us, it'll balance out. Thank you, Comcast, for sponsoring this part of the break. I hate you, and I wish I could have Starlink today.
Yeah,
Save me, Papa Elon.
Spectrum, I don't know. You can Spectrum or Comcast. I'm not sure.
Nah, this is for sure a me issue here, so we're gonna bear through this. We had one of these earlier, but I don't know what's causing this one.
That's okay.
Someday they will beam the internet down from the stars, and I will be able to absorb it through my forehead, and I will be one with the interwebs.
Yo, so you watched that video, right? You of it's the SN10, right? Is that
Yeah.
the one they shot up?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The craziest thing is watching that. I thought to myself, this looks fake, right? And you have like the thing in the engine in the bottom is like you can see it as it's descending. It's like moving, right?
Yep.
It's like
The Raptor engines.
It's like this thing looks so fake, and then but I know it's not fake. But I'm watching it thinking, is this CGI? This is amazing. Because I don't know.
The moon landing. Man, that was grainy picture and everything.
We know that didn't happen. I mean, that happened. That was made like 10 miles from my house, or over there in Hollywood, right? So like
that's what I've been told. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is so crazy to look at that thing fall out of the sky. I cannot believe that they control an explosion to the ground like that with that big of an object. And it's they failed a couple times. Yeah, the third time's the charm, as they said. But watching this thing move like that, it's just incredible to think of the possibilities of what else could you have just kind of fall to the ground and whoop, back up like that. And what does that do for travel in general, having those kinds of capabilities tested? And watching a billionaire throw a bunch of money at it and say like, yeah, I'm willing to try this and see if we can make it happen. And on the third time, he pretty much slings a small skyscraper from horizontal to vertical in way too small of a space.
Never mind the fact that it blew up on the pad 5 minutes after it landed. So I love how we're like, what I appreciate is that the fact that it landed and then blew up means like we've found a different error, a different bug, right? We've progressed to the next stage.
Yep.
Which I think is why people are like, yeah, you did it, they landed it. It's like, well, it blew up. It's like, but who cares? It landed and it sat there for like 10 minutes and then it blew up, right? So they're gonna figure that out.
Yeah. It was on fire for a long time.
So what I wanted to ask you though was that like you're a big aviation nerd, right? We've talked about this before, and you just said something that was interesting to me. There you go. NASA. Having a billionaire test this like type of technology and like the progress we're making of like being able to shoot a skyscraper up and land it. Do you see applications for things Elon's developing in like the traditional airplane aviation market? Like, what do you think could come there based upon like what they're testing and what they're building, what you see out there, just based on your passion and your knowledge?
I see this weird ability to land an airplane in a really small space is all I see. And we've designed planes in a very specific way, knowing that they have to take off and land in that same manner, requiring a lot of lead up and a lot of compression space to land and absorb all that speed that they're carrying to stay up in the air. You remove a lot of those limitations, and in theory, like SpaceX has already said that they will have the ability to travel anywhere in the world in 30 minutes. And it was a much more rudimentary technology of like the capsules being able to come in and land on a platform essentially, but you can shoot a rocket up, travel around, come back down, and be in a different city from like New York to Beijing in 30 minutes. Those kinds of numbers are realistic. So there is airline application on like Concorde steroid level here that you could, if you needed to be teleported to somewhere else, a 30-minute teleportation to anywhere on the globe is not bad. Granted, you would probably need a spaceport for SpaceX to be there and those kinds of accompaniments, so it would be very limited to kind of how Tesla was to begin with. But they have that ability, but that is with much smaller pod in mind, not the Starship in mind. And the Starship fuselage, knowing that it can just shoot straight up the way that it did, up to 60,000, or what did it go up to, 10 kilometers, so like 30,000-ish feet. That is cruising altitude for airplanes. So you could do that, tip over, go. You no longer need a runway. It's VTOL, but in a different way. You're now playing with rocket engines, which are a little bit less stable, but it also allows you to pretty much get over your destination, glide down like the shuttle, kick it up at the end, and pop it down, have the arm come out. Everyone throws up as they get off because they've been tossed around with a couple G's. But if you're really needing to get there quick, like a drop trooper, maybe the military starts to adopt these kinds of things, and you can land that thing on a flat surface. So if you've already predetermined that you've got a flat surface, that pop that thing down. But you're also talking about this big thing that's designed to go to Mars, not something that's designed just to go up and do the things that we would want to do in orbit.
I mean, I just want to go around the moon once, right? I don't even know if I'm gonna make it to Mars. I might not make it to the moon. I'm not sure, but it's amazing to think that this is even possible in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Tourist travel into space, I think, is a really attainable thing. Even 5 years ago, I've been like, "No, you're crazy," right?
You look at what like sci-fi leads towards, and one of the things I've always looked back on sci-fi, like, oh man, we're never gonna see that. Like to the DeLorean is like hovering. Hovering is one of those cool things that we've never really mastered in the time frame that we were given. Watching these things land this way is the closest thing that we have to a real life hovering of a spacecraft. It is a hovering of a spacecraft in theory. So, what does that mean towards the progression of a Star Wars style Imperial shuttle being able to come in and land, or like maybe Mando's ship from The Mandalorian, or like some of these things that you can kind of think like, oh yeah, they designed this to be a little bit more realistic, or stuff from The Expanse. We're there. We're almost to that cusp of being able to interplanetarily travel with a system that makes sense to be able to land wherever you need to and service wherever you want to. And we've never had that before. Now, if we can get the power source a lot smaller than the fuel that we require, that's the real next limiting factor. But the science is being tested right now to make those systems work.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's great, except we need those fusion cores or those fusion reactors or the whatever the thing is called, the expanse. There's always like some sort of nuclear like reactor fusion technology that's like the hyperdrive, the warp speed drive. It's like yeah, when are we gonna punch it up to 10, Chewie? Right? Like
Yep.
we gotta get there someday. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're totally right. I think it's pretty
There's
amazing actually.
so many cool things that this influencer has made. I can't even like imagine where he's going to continue to take these things. And like we were describing, like what applications are far beyond what he is putting up there as the tentpole products right now, as the like flashy objects. And that's why he started with the Roadster as the first Tesla, because he wanted a sports car to go and check the people that had too much disposable income to be able to buy their electric sports car, to go say I'm eco and sporty at the same time. Ace is sexy. He's just playing with all of those sexy objects that are just floating around in the ambiguity of, oh man, can we do this? Oh yes, we can, and I'm gonna figure it out. And it's like, what's the next sexy thing for him that is going to be propelled forward with his influence? And you know, like you said, Dogecoin's not even that sexy, and it was still propelled forward with that. And he's got other products that, like the Solar Roof and Solar City, and things that just aren't as much aren't as flashy. But I always wonder what he's got next, and I always hope he gets into video games and starts dabbling in that space more and more. Like, what's the day that Elon retires and makes his own video game and becomes Halliday from Gregarious Systems in Ready Player One? That's where I hope Elon just retires to. Is just like, I'm gonna go make the best game ever now that I've got all the money in the world and never have to worry about doing anything other than smoking weed and posting memes. We're on Mars. We have electric cars. What more do you want? I've served the planet. And Mars and probably the moon at this rate. Let me make video games.
And if we've done those two things, then Neuralink's probably already shown up, and so we've already cured Alzheimer's and restoring functionality on limbs and things like that. Which I think that's really fascinating tech actually too. Is like the whole concept of Neuralink. I know, sure, the idea of like the singularity and man and machine melding into one is kind of spooky, and AI is spooky and all those things. But man, the idea that maybe we could like cure incurable diseases by going into the brain and stimulating the brain through an implant somehow to like restore functionality,
or like bridging the spinal cord is another thing. Like,
exactly.
Holy smokes! Like solving things that we never thought were solvable.
Yeah, I mean, I contend that we live in the best time in human history to be alive. Like, I really do. And I know a lot of people don't share that opinion, don't care. That's my opinion. But yeah, the fact that potentially you're paralyzed, but then we can go in there and bridge it up somehow and fix it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know. Future's bright.
It's very bright, and if it takes an influencer using a social platform to get us there, I wonder, like, is it worth the cost of the social platform and everything, the discourse that it also causes constantly
Yeah,
to
I think
have the
social
progress?
platforms are. I would rather have social networks than not have them, right? I think they bring immense value to humanity, even though I freaking hate Twitter, and I hate using it. I see the value, right? Uh, oh, you've got a repressive regime in Myanmar that's trying to pull a military coup. Well, guess what? We're murdering protesters in the street. It's all over the internet because of social media, right?
Yep.
So I think that like the inherent benefits of social networks are outweigh the negatives, but we should just be vigilant and not let our tech overlords become our new overlords.
That is quite the statement. I don't know how we stop this, and this is one of my fears with gaming, and we've dabbled around this topic before, is like this wave is infecting towards us right now. We are seen as social platforms, subtle social platforms, the most subtle and the most engaging social platform on the planet. Like, just if you want to say video games, like it's there's nothing that competes at all, and we're already worth more than all of the other entertainment out there that tries to engage people. So we are king and the next one to be toppled, and like, who's going to be our champions as influencers to make sure that we do not lose what we are right now as gaming, and who is going to be looking at us as just the next cash cow to milk until we're dry? And how do we define the two, and where do we draw that line to say that we want to be on this side of this, and we are here for preserving this and not losing what we've built over all these decades from many before us? I think it's a stand that it's going to be drawn very soon, actually.
You talking about Valheim right now? Like 10 years from now, you want to make sure we don't lose the progress on the server, right? Because like of civilization that's unfolding in front of our eyes.
Exactly. I'm not going to let those Grey Dwarfs take it from me.
They're so annoying.
Or the trolls.
They're so annoying. It's like, oh, let me go chop this tree down. It's like, oh, here, let me hold a torch so you can't hit me.
We hit the Iron Age, finally.
We did hit the Iron Age.
It's
and
almost day 300.
I'm not going to lie. First time I touched that iron ingot, I didn't think it was ever going to stop with all the new things we unlocked. It was like, here's this one item and here's 58 new things you can do, right? Every other time it's like, here's 2 things, or here's 3 new recipes, or here's 1. This time it's just
page after page after page of things you can do.
Maybe there should have been a step in between a couple of those. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Even just logging in and gaining access to the stone cutting bench. That was another one that had a bunch of cool things with it. And I can't wait to build with stone in this game and start really making the complex cathedral style structures that I know you and I have in mind to go along with our bases to go and raid these remaining 3 bosses. 3 bosses that we have to kill? I think it's 5 total. We've killed 2.
Yeah, I thought in my head there was 11 for some reason. So yeah, I guess you're right. There's only like 5 or 6 bosses. There's not that many. I don't know where I got 11 from, but
maybe someday there will be 11 bosses in Valheim, and we'll be able to go kill them all, Mitch.
I hope so. I mean, they're definitely going to come out with more bosses, more expansions, and all of that. I'm curious actually if like how much sticking power this game actually has, right? I'm really curious, like when the honeymoon phase wears off, and it is a little bit for me. Like I'm like the other night I logged in and like I was like, hey, I don't really want to do this. Like I'd rather go play League, which
it's which grind is more rewarding right now, and I know that just going and finding that copper node and banging it out to try and get that copper is going to take a while, and I'd rather wait for the boys to be on to go and play a little bit together and go explore some. Yeah, so like it's getting to that point where it's a coordinated effort more than just a solo play experience, and I feel like that is the moment that it gets grindy, and this game has gotten grindy because we've taken our time with it. I will say that we've given this game its like due diligence in going through and exploring the different capabilities of it, and it still surprises me. I ended up on an island today with some barnacles, and I whacked the barnacles, and the barnacles ended up like causing this thing to shake, and it sucked into the water afterwards.
Island?
Yep.
The whole thing?
The whole thing gone. I drowned.
Did you lose your gear?
I built another boat and went out there and snagged it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I bet you were pissed though.
Oh my god, I was so mad. It was right before a meeting. Oh, man, I had so much riding on that, but luckily we have a pretty established base. Like I said, we've taken our time with it. We've done everything properly, and I was able to just go back, get the things I needed, make the stuff, get out there, get my things.
Was it like potentially a sea creature?
I believe it would be called a sea creature that I was on. Like, it was rumbling and making all kinds of noises.
Yeah, so
I had to take
yeah, it wasn't an island. It was some sort of creature.
It was real close to the coastline, so I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, what is this thing? And I was able to farm the barnacle, and I got something from it, and I can make some things with it, but I have no idea what it is yet. But if I were to take a guess, it was some sort of, like, turtle-esque creature.
Just imagine showing up to that meeting, like, hey, guys, I gotta mute myself for a few minutes, but feel free to start without me.
I have a crisis that I'm handling right now. I'll be right there.
I got a personal life crisis I gotta deal with.
I just lost all my gear in Valheim from drowning.
All my tier 4 gear. Oh my god. Or whatever tier. I don't even know what tier we're on, but like, I level 4 bronze gear. Oh my god. It's hot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know, I got it back though. But I'm super excited to go explore more in this game. This game is so expansive, and you know, the power of social influence on a mass level. This was almost like a Wall Street Bets kind of momentum behind this thing, as a large conglomerate of people ended up behind Valheim, and now they're like plus 4 million. Every week we go by, there's another million, five, million people that are playing this game now.
The CEO of whatever the studio is called posted on Twitter. He just said 5. He just said 5. I think he had to put the hand emoji with like 3 exclamation points. And then he linked to an article that said like Valheim surpasses 5 million players. That's like,
wow.
That's a great post.
Wow. It's so cool, the power of this community influence like this. It's not just one influencer that led the charge here. This is a much deeper connection of friends. Like, no, you got to play this game. It's not just one big person getting up there and saying, oh, this game's cool, and you should play this game because you're watching me. This was no, we need to play this together because there's so many people playing it. And the herd mentality really like latched on before I think really any influencer could really harness the full energy of a Valheim. It was so cool to see.
It's only $20, so like.
Yep. Perfect storm.
Okay.
One of those very cool perfect storms that we needed this kind of game right here as we rolled into the 2nd March 2020. So. Oh.
It's almost, yeah, you're right. Wow, it's March.
Yep.
3421 today, by the way. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. I like that. Good catch. Good catch. And on that bombshell, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, AverMedia and Blue Microphone, for the continued support of our shows on Next Level. And this has been Theory Crafting, where Mitch and I dive into some crazy theories about the world of gaming and influence around us. And we're going to be continuing to talk about influence for the rest of the month. If you'd like to catch us, we are here at 6 p.m. on Thursdays. But if you caught us not live, thank you very much for watching the VODs. Catch us on social media, catch our handles right there, and we'll see you next week.